Hey everyone, it's Skyler,
And it's Tyler.
and this is episode 5 of Bird Talk.
So in this episode, we have one guest, Mr. Lake. He was the former teacher advisor on the team, and he was also a coach at some point. But what most people at Buchanan know him for is that he was a former physics teacher.
Howdy, it's really good to be here. It's really exciting to actually be a guest on a podcast. It's exciting.
We have a few questions that we wanted to ask because we wanted this episode to be for the viewers watching this episode or listening, I guess. This episode is about team history, because Mr. Lake been with us since he helped start the team.
He was there when the ancient magic was written, when the deep magic.
That's right. Yeah. Dinosaurs were walking.
Dinosaurs.
Yep. So well, how about we start with how was the team created? Like, how did it come about? Well,
it really started in the Central Valley. A man named Devin Blizzard was principal at Copper Hills Elementary School. And but he came from the Bay Area and he wanted to bring first robotics to the Valley. And this is in the early 2000s, I think 2002, 2003, kind of in there. And so he started some first Lego League teams. First at Copper Hills, and then it grew, and then they had a little, the championship that we kind of help run now.
Yeah.
And they started putting that, but he really wanted to get some high school teams going. So in 2003, I believe they started 2 teams, one in Madera and, the Madtown Robotics.
1323.
Yeah, 1323. And then they started, I think it's 1422. It was at CART. CART had a first robotics team.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. And then it was CART Clovis West team. And then, anyway. And then the following year, he wanted to start a team at Buchanan. And so there was a kid that went to Copper Hills named Conrad Miller, who then went to Alta Sierra and was on an FLL team at Alta Sierra. But his freshman year, in the fall of 2004, he wanted to start a first robotics competition team. And I remember he came, and I had no idea this was going to happen. He came to my classroom. He's a nerdy little guy, and he was carrying a briefcase instead of a backpack, and button-down shirt, and looking.
That's a real nerd look going.
Oh yeah. But great guy, just a great guy. And he came in and he said, "Mr. Lake, my name is Conrad Miller, and I would want to talk to you about a robotics team." And I said, "Okay, well, tell me about this robotics team, and what do you want to do?" And he goes, "Well, it's first robotics." And he started going into it, and this was all news to me. And he said, "But don't worry." And I said, "Well, Conrad, I'm really a busy guy." And he said, "Mr. Lake, don't worry about it. It's going to take hardly any time at all. All you're going to have to do is sign the paperwork, and we'll do everything. You won't have to do a thing." Lies. I
don't think you're making deals with the devil there.
Right. So that first year we registered the team in 2004, and our first season was 2005. We started in January of 2005, and I can tell stories about that. But just to give you a general idea, I was a teacher advisor, and then Mr. Blizzard was Mr. Blizzard, and then a guy named Eric Valdivia, and Mr. Scott January used to be the auto shop teacher. Those three adults with me helping with, I was in charge of like getting permission slips and getting the bus or getting the vans ready to go.
Yeah.
I kind of did the teacher advisor stuff, which I was fine of, and helping with supervision. And I was there when we were building the robot, and I helped with the ideas. But those other 3 adults, they really designed and built the robot, because we didn't have kids on the team that knew anything. So the idea was that we would, these adults would really kind of design and build the robot, but the kids on the team, and we had 14 kids on the team that first year, they would kind of learn by watching. We brought the kids in, and they would doing things and all that. But it was tough because we didn't have a lot of all the fancy machine tools we have now. We didn't have any of the
resources.
We did have the auto shop, which had some stuff, but nobody knew what CAD was, and none of the kids could program or wire, or we didn't know what pneumatics was. I mean, it was just pure ignorance.
All the stuff you need for the robot.
Yeah, but it turns out we built a pretty darn good robot. It was a little tank, and it had this little dump truck thing. I think that first year was triple play. It was called triple play. And we built a robot that did the low scoring. In FIRST Robotics, almost every game, there's a high scoring thing you can do, like shooting a ball into the
like
high
3
goal,
points and 1 point.
Points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we decided, no, we're going to go for the 1 point. And it turns out we built a really great robot that could score and could play great defense. And so it was a very simple robot. And we went to our one and only regional it was the Sacramento Regional at UC Davis. And we were actually a lot of people don't remember this, but we were the number 8 Alliance captain.
Really?
First year?
Yeah.
We can't even land that now normally.
Yeah, nobody picked us, but we bubbled up enough. We were the number 8. I don't know. I think we got eliminated in the quarterfinals or something, but we did get rookie all-star, which meant we got an invitation to go to World Champs. Now, I couldn't go to World Champs because my daughter was her first communion, so I had family stuff going on, and I really, it was a bummer because I really wanted to go. So anyway, so we got rookie all-star, and it was a great start to our team, and we recruited more team members for the following year, and the kids had a great time. But then the second year happened. Mr. January didn't really like the whole thing, and it was very, very time consuming and stressful. And so he decided, he was really a softball coach anyway. So he got out of it. I think Mr. Blizzard became principal at Alta Sierra and didn't have time anymore. And then we had Eric Valdivia, the engineer from Safety Cab, and he was still around, but he just kind of did the CAD work. So he wasn't with the kids much at all. And so that second year, we like I said, we recruited, but that's when I became the coach. And let me tell you something. I have no business being a FIRST Robotics competition coach, because that robot that year, and we can do a whole podcast on that second year. But that was Mr. Neighbors. That was his first year on the team. He was a freshman on the team that year.
For those watching, Mr. Neighbors is our current head coach.
Yeah,
and he's an alumni, and he's great and helpful.
Oh yeah, he's the heart and soul of the team. I mean, it would be hard to imagine the Bird Brains without him. Now, we weren't the Bird Brains yet, but we were just the Buchanan Robotics team. Mm-hmm. But that second year, to make a very long story short, it was a bucket of wires on wheels. We barely got it done. We barely had the crate that we shipped it done. It was.
That sounds like every year. What are you talking about?
No. You do not know.
This one made out of wood or something?
No, it was really amazing how bad we were about our robot. It was really amazing. Okay, so at competition, we went to Sacramento Regional. We barely got it there. It wasn't really, the robot wasn't finished yet. We had 10 qualifying matches. 7 out of 10 matches, we were dead on the field. One of the matches, the wire connecting to the bus, from the battery to the bus, caught on fire. I mean, it had a spark and it caught on fire. And somebody from the field actually jumped up and disconnected our robot or whatever. It was the only time I've ever seen a field official jump onto the field during a match.
Yeah.
But here's why I kept at it. Here's why I stayed with it. Because let me tell you something. That second year, I was miserable. I hate it. I enjoyed being with the kids, but it was the most stressful few months in my life. Really terrible.
Especially because at that time, the adults were pretty much running the team for the most part, since we didn't really have.
Well, at that time, Eric Valdivia, here's what happened. Eric Valdivia, the engineering mentor from Safety Cab, he designed a robot that would have been very competitive if we knew how to build something like that, but we couldn't build it. And so what happened, we spent the first 3 weeks of the build season waiting for his engineering to be done. And then we were going to build it. Well, we couldn't build what he designed in 3 weeks. We couldn't build it if we had 10 months, we couldn't have built that robot he designed. Yeah. It was a space shuttle. So anyway, we cut the design, we built what we could build, But I will say this, even though I was miserable during each match, I was so impressed with the kids on the team, like Andrew Neighbors, our current coach, and Michael Adam, who now runs, the first
CBR.
CBR here in the Valley and all that. Those kids were so good. I mean, instead of whining or crying or blaming each other for all the bad stuff that was happening, they would take the robot off the field and say, how do we fix it? And this is why I fell in love with FIRST. We had students and mentors from other teams trying to help us to get our robot to work. And we did get it to work. The last 3 matches, our robot actually kind of worked. We scored a few points. You should have seen the first time our robot rolled across the floor and shot the balls into the low score. It was like we won the Super Bowl. I mean, we were jumping up and down and hugging each other and stuff like that. And on the way back, the kids were just talking. We were in a van. It was a small enough team where we were in 2 vans, not a school bus. And they were just talking about next year. They were talking about next year. I was going to quit. I mean, before we went up, I didn't tell the kids that, but I was going to quit. But they were so good, and they were just. And I go, okay, I'll give it 1 more year. And I said, but if the 3rd year is like the 2nd year, there won't be a 4th. But the 3rd year, we got Pelco became a sponsor, so we had some money. We got a little better engineering, some more technical support. We built our 3rd robot, which wasn't much better. I got an assistant coach who was competent and so on. And our 3rd robot, it wasn't a very good robot, but it worked most of the time. And we didn't get picked, but we were at least engaged, But I mean, we were one of those robots for several years. We were one of those robots that didn't get picked. And it's hard. I feel for those teams. I know what they're going through, and then for the elimination matches, and then the team just every year the team grew and got a little better. And then in 2011, Andrew Neighbors, who had graduated from college, but he came back to mentor the team. And then in 2011, he became assistant coach, and he was so good with all the technology and stuff like that. And I'm just not. And
Neighbors knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does. And so I said, hey, and he was old enough now. He was an adult. I said, why don't you become the head coach, and I'll become the teacher advisor again. So in 2012, he became the head coach, and I became the teacher advisor. And that's what we did that was the thing we did for several years. And then, then we had other people come along. And then last year I retired from teaching and from being an official mentor for the team, although I'm still, connected with it. I'm still keeping track of you guys, but that's how we got started though. And so we started from very humble beginnings all the way to being on the World Champ Alliance and then being a chairman's team, which I never thought that was ever going to happen. But, great kids with, and with adults that let them be great, it's been quite a ride.
Can I just say, I hadn't
Yes.
thought
That's
about
a
this,
big story.
but
You had what?
I realized since the team started in like 2004, 2005, that means the team is older than you, Tyler, yeah?
Yeah.
That's all.
Wait a minute. When were you born, Tyler?
2006.
Oh my gosh.
I am older than the team, but
barely.
Yeah. But
well, I think we registered the team in early November of 2004.
So a little bit over a year older than the team.
Uh-huh.
So
yep, that's more than 2 years.
so cool. No, I mean, it's really amazing that the team has lasted, and has grown and changed and evolved, but that's what it should do. We get a new batch every year, and that should be their team. Every time we get a new group of kids, my feeling is that the team belongs to those kids, and they should put their mark on it, and they should develop their own culture and stuff. There's certain things that we need to maintain consistency, but we don't want to get stale. And from what I've seen this year, just with COVID and all that, you guys have just done an amazing job of finding creative ways to be engaged, in the community, and to be engaged with FIRST, and to advance the the mission statement of FIRST. So I'm really, really happy about how things have turned out.
As Ms. Riveri put it, we just have like some weird motivation just coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
She's like, where does it come from?
Well, I've always I've always thought that does First Robotics attract great kids, or does First Robotic take kids and make them great? You know what? And I think that and I've kind of decided that I think that there's greatness in almost everybody. You know, you just have to find it. And I think one of the things that First Robotics does and our team does is that we give kids like you an opportunity to find out where, you know, what you're really good at and how you can contribute and to the team. And we've always had a fairly loosey-goosey kind of structure to, I mean, we have a team structure, right? You know, if you'll notice, I mean, for leadership, we have an application process, an interview process.
Yeah, but even that is changing. Like new positions are becoming like some of the things. We had way more chiefs before, and now we're down to like 4 or something.
Well, yeah, but I think that's because that's where I think it changes pretty frequently, the amount of like leaders we have each year, because we're still trying to figure out what works best for our team.
Well, and one of the things that's different, you know, we try to run our team like a business. We say, you know, we have a kind of a corporate structure to our team.
Yeah.
We are different than a business because in several ways. And one of them is that if you have a business and you need to hire somebody for a particular job, you can just go out and put an ad online on ZipRecruiter or something like that, or you can, you know, used to be we use newspapers to advertise for jobs, and we can go out and we can find some. Now with a high school team, you know, you can't do that. You have a student body, and you have to acquire the students for your team from that student body. And so one of the things that I think we tried to do, the adults on the team, is we kind of try to design a team structure around the kids that we have. So, you know, if you have, and we kind of learned that the hard way. Sometimes we would try to force a certain team structure on the kids we have, but it didn't really work out. And we would have to change things on the fly. But, and sometimes that was quite emotionally difficult, right? But what we've done in the last 4 or 5 years that I was mentoring the team is that we would say, okay, what kids do we have? How do we design a team structure around the kids that we know are going to be team leaders next year? And so there's kind of an evolution of what works based on who you have.
Yeah.
So, but also, you know, at the end of the year, we'll, you know, sit around with the adults and the students, especially the seniors, the graduating seniors, and say, okay, what should we do differently to get better? So there's this iterative process of team improvement. One of the problems is now is, I mean, the Buchanan Bird Brains, I mean, we're a really, really good team, and it's hard to get better when you're really, really good. And so, you know, but we try, and so far so good.
Okay, so kind of mentioned this earlier when you were talking about the formation of the team and kind of giving that like some history for the team. We weren't always the Buchanan Bird Brains. When did that happen?
That's a great story.
Like,
how did the birds
come to be?
Well, there used to be an animation competition, and there was this kid named Chris Erickson, and his dad, Mr. Erickson, was a mentor for our team. He was kind of a part-time mentor. He'd come in, he wouldn't be there all that much, but when he was there, he was really, really valuable. He's really good at wiring things, and he was mainly involved in the electronics and pneumatics for our robots. And he had a son who was kind of a unmotivated high school student, we'll put it that way. And it was his senior year. And this was in 2008, I think. And he came to me and he said, hey, Paul, I gotta, you know, my son, he really needs something to do, something to motivate him. And you think you can find a place for him on your team? And I'm kind of thinking, you know, oh, that's all I need is more dead wood on my team. You know, I'm having a hard enough time keeping all these kids busy with stuff. But that was an inside thought though. You know, so I thought, but I'm thinking, you know, he's a valuable mentor and a good guy, and I want to help him out, you know. So I said, yeah, okay, let's bring him to a team meeting. And this was about 3 weeks into build season or so. So
like height of production there.
yeah, exactly. So he brings this kid in and brings in Chris, and he didn't really. You could tell he had to be there. He didn't really want to be there. He was told he had to be there, you know. So he kind of this attitude, and I go, well, okay, we have our CAD team, and our CAD team was just getting started at that point. You can learn computer-aided design. And I told him what the heck. He goes, nah, I don't really want to do that. Well, here's electronics, and this is what makes the blah, 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 motors and wires and power buses and batteries.
Yada, yada, yada.
No, I don't want to do that. Well, here's our PR team. We didn't call it IR yet. PR team and marketing, and they're raising money. Oh no, I don't want anything. Well, we do have an animation team, and our animation team was terrible at that time. But I shouldn't say that because maybe one of the kids on the first animations team are hearing this, so I apologize. But they weren't that great. I will say
it was a lot better than our animation team for the last couple of years because we haven't had one.
Yeah, because that part of the competition is no longer there. But but he goes, animation, and I said, yeah, we have to develop a 30-second cartoon, and we have to write this thing. And he goes, well, that sounds pretty cool. So he joined our animation team, and he loved it. He downloaded the software onto his computer, and he and his brother, Jeff Erickson, who eventually became a team CEO. But they started working on this animation. He and Jeff and 2 or 3 other kids, and they made a video called Stormbreaker. And we took the animation to the competition, and we won at the regional level. Oh. We won. Now, we did win a trophy from winning Rookie All-Star, but for several years, we didn't win anything. We didn't win any awards, and we didn't get picked for eliminations. And we only played 1 regional. So those were tough times. You do all this work and you go and you play for 1 weekend and it's over, baby. So that was tough. We won the animation, and that was inspiring. And so now he got so excited about animation, that the next year when he graduated, he went to the San Francisco School of Art, or I don't know if that's the official, but he went to San Francisco and studied at animation at an art school. And but he had a really long winter break. So when he came back the following year, he mentored our animation team, and we made a thing called was it BioBlast or something? I'll look it up. And he really did a great job working with the kids, teaching them how to animate. And they made this great animation. And we went to the competition again, and we won again. And wow, that was great. But he was only a freshman. He'd only had 1 semester, so he didn't really know that much. But the following year, in the middle of his sophomore year,
with the animation.
That's what I'm getting to. The next year, he recruited a really great team. My son Aaron was he wasn't on that team, but he was the voice of one of the birds. But he assembled a group of kids, and one of the gals on the team was Jessica Estrada, and she had a fabulous talent in art, and she designed these fantastic characters. Now, they didn't tell us, it was top secret. They wouldn't tell the rest of the team what they were doing until they were finished with it. And they designed this little story, this little 30-second story, and about a fictional story about, it was called 3 Little Birds. Anyway, I'm forgetting the name of it now. I can go back and figure it out. But what happened was they created 3 little birds based on the first logo, the triangle, the circle, and the square. So they made 3 little birds. There was a triangle, a circle, and a square. And it told the story of how Dean Kamen came up with the idea for FIRST Robotics. Well, anyway, it was charming. It was fantastic. And he was able to render, Chris was able to use the computers at his college to render the animation. And that made a big difference because the render, it was Pixar quality. It was phenomenal. The story was phenomenal. The voices and all that, it was fantastic. And it not only won at the regional level, but it won at the national level. And that was the first time our team achieved anything that was kind of all of FIRST saw it, because they played it at the World Champs, and we won. So now we didn't get to go to World Champs. We were here, but we were watching, we were watching online and so on, and we won, and it was just awesome. I mean, it was, so that summer, the summer of 2010, the new team leadership and Chris's brother, Jeff, was going to be a senior that year, and he was their CEO, going to be a CEO for the 2011 season. And he he got the team leadership and they said, we need to use this fantastic animation to brand our team, because we were just Buchanan Robotics Team, BRT. And we were trying to think of something clever. We were going to be Ursa Engineering, like Ursa Major. The Ursa is Latin for the bear. Like Ursa Major is the Big Dipper. And we were going to have like the Big Dipper as our team logo or something like that. But it just didn't click. We just didn't feel right about it.
Yeah.
And then, so they said, well, and they were looking at these three little birds. And they said, and I don't know, to this day, I've asked them who came up with the idea of Buchanan bird brains, and they don't remember. It was like a group discussion, but they said the bird brains. And they said, it's cute. It's self-deprecating. It's
all good humor should be.
It's funny. And then they designed, we had Jessica Estrada designed a logo for the team, the logo we use now, for the team using those three little, and I'm telling you, branding matters. When we became the Buchanan Bird Brains and we had that logo and we had our team exploded. We got, and I don't mean this in a sexist way either way, but when we became the Buchanan Bird Brains, the number of girls that joined our team went way up, where it was like 40% girls. I mean, beforehand, we were 80% guys, 20% girls, something like that, maybe a quarter girl. But the number of girls on the team jumped. And I think it's because when you look at that, you think this is a friendly, fun, safe place to be.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I think a lot of girls, well, that's just a bunch of grungy guys building robots. I don't want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
But when you see these three little birds, you go, oh, I want to be part of that. And so we got, and so our team we went from a team of about 30 or 40 to a team of about 50, 60 kids, and then we started going to 2 regionals. But anyway, that's how we became the Buchanan Bird Brains, because of that animation. Have you guys seen that animation before?
No.
Yeah,
Okay, well, after we're done recording this, I will find the link. It's on the team
Drive or YouTube.
YouTube page somewhere, and I'll find it. And of course, that's you've seen the children's book that we wrote. Three Little Birds Reach for the Stars. That's those characters are the same characters from the animation. And then of course the next year they did the animation again, and it won at the regional and it won at national. So we won the national competition 2 years in a row. Unfortunately, that was the last year of that animation competition.
They were like, they knew that we were just going to keep winning, I guess.
No, I don't think that was it. I think the company that was sponsoring it just didn't feel like they were getting the bang for the buck. Not very many teams would actually submit an animation. I think there were about, at our regional, at Sacramento Regional, there might be like 55, 60 teams at that regional, but only 6 or 7 were in the animation competition. So
yeah, well, it sounds like it was hard, and we didn't really start getting doing really well in it until we kind of had access to really nice software and stuff, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, I think yes, that made a difference. You have to have, for a project like that, you have to have a champion, and he championed. But we had kids that were part of it too, and then they graduated. Jessica graduated, and some of the other kids graduated, and we were going to try to keep an animation team going, but they weren't. Oh, but here's the great thing. That kid who started it, Chris Erickson, who kind of came in, was barely graduating from high school. He got his degree in animation. He got a job working for Disney Studios.
Oh, that's awesome.
And now he worked for Disney, Hero 6, Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6.
Yeah, he worked on that movie, and he worked he's in credits for a couple others. Then he decided he now works for a video game company doing the animation for video games. I don't know
which one, or
no. But we have to look that up. I bet if you called him up, you could do a really great podcast with him, because that whole family, the whole Erickson family, it was a big part of the Bird Brains a long time ago. But yeah, that's how we became the Bird Brains.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's a whole lot more story than I thought, or I'm guessing a lot of other people thought.
I knew.
Well, yeah, the animation is fantastic. It still holds up now. It's funny. It's just great. It's great.
Yeah. And you voiced one of the birds for it, yeah?
Yeah. I voiced Randy, the engineer professor,
Yeah.
because and I go, there's this law, to determine the electric field, but only for highly symmetric charge distributions. So anyway, they asked me we just want you to lecture on physics, and we just want it to be gibberish. So I said, okay. And I had just lectured on electrostatics in my AP physics class, and on Gauss's law. So I just repeated my Gauss's law lecture, a few minutes of it. And so what they did is they sped it up and they raised the level of it. So it doesn't sound like me at all, but it's really funny. Every time I watch it, it just cracks me up. And then my oldest son, Aaron, is the voice of one of the birds. And so it was fun. That was a great time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, okay, so I mean, obviously, I know we've mentioned it in past episodes. I think the first episode might be the only one, but like, so we won world champs in, 2015. So like, how was that? Like, what was that like being there?
Okay. How much time do you have?
As much as you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about world champs. We had one of the best. That was 2015. It was Recycle Rush, and what our robot had to do was stack these totes, and it was a really weird game. At first, I thought the game was one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen, but as the build season went on and as the competition season went on, I go, no, this is actually a pretty fun game. A lot of people didn't like it, but at the end, even before we won world champs, I thought this is kind of interesting. It's very different. Anyway, we ended up building one of the best stacking robots in the whole world, but that's all it could do. And there was, there's the beginning part of the game where we had to grab some trash cans off a platform. We couldn't do that. Autonomous, we really could. There was these 3 yellow totes that if you could stack them during autonomous, if you could stack them and put them on a certain part of the field, you would score big points. We couldn't do that. So we were a one-trick pony, and we decided, we were ranked very high. We were expected to be in the top 5 of our division, and we were in a stacked division. We were in a really good division at World Champ. And so we decided, okay, we got to figure out how to we can't drag the trash can, so we got to do autonomous. We got to do a better job in autonomous. So we came up with this scheme, and a guy named Mitchell Stokes, and he'd be fun to interview. I can put you in touch with him. He can tell you some stories. But Mitchell Stokes, he came up with this design for how we could do a 3-tote autonomous. And we, for 2 weeks, with our practice robot, we'd already shipped our competition robot, but with our practice robot, we worked for, unbelievable hours to get this autonomous to work. We got it to work twice in the shop. So we took the equipment off, we took it with us to St. Louis, and to World Champs was in St. Louis, and we put that stuff on our robot, and we tried to get it to work. And the first day of competition, we had 5 qualifying matches. It destroyed us. It threw off our whole game plan. And not only did we not succeed at the autonomous mode, but we were totally screwed up when it came to just making stacks and putting them on the platform to score big points. It threw us off. And at the end of the first day, instead of being in the top 5 out of 75 teams in our division, we were 45th. And I'm telling you, we went there with really high expectations. This was a punch in the gut. I mean, our principal was there. Our area superintendent was there. My learning director was there. I mean, practically my whole chain of command was there, and it was awful.
That's like a nightmare.
It was.
Everyone you want to impress was there and not being impressed.
Right. So we decided, heck with it. We took the stuff off and said, we just need to raise up in the rankings. So we took our all that autonomous mode and just went back to what we did at the first 2 regionals, at the Central Valley Regional and the Sacramento Regional, where we could stack really well. Now, we didn't know it at the time. Team 118 and Team 1678 both went to the Sacramento Regional. We beat 1678 in qualifying. 118 barely beat us. It was one bad match, and we would have been ranked number 1. in the rankings, but we were number 2 in the rankings. Number 1, Team 118 picked 1678, which ranked 3rd.
Yeah.
And then we were in a bit, and so we were an alliance leader and we got beat, and we didn't, now we won happily at Sacramento Regal. We won the chairman's award, so we did get to go. But 118 and 1678 were really excited because they wanted to pick us because we were the best stacking robot, one of the best stacking robots in the competition. Well, we didn't know that. They didn't tell us that. And they were thinking there's no way they're going to be left to be the 3rd pick. Now, I'm thinking that night, the night after, we got back up to 25th. The second day of qualifying, we had 5 more matches. We went up to 25th. So that was okay. I mean, we performed better, but our last match, we dumped a stack and all that. So I was thinking we weren't even going to get picked. So that night I was making plans to take the kids to see the Gateway Arch, and we were going to go to the museum, stuff to do so that they would have a good time and not feel terrible.
Like
right?
ice cream after, a bad day for kids.
Your Pine Derby car didn't got eliminated. So let's go have some ice cream. Yeah, it was that exactly. So anyway, I'm sitting up and I was late to get to the alliance selection thing that morning, and I was sitting. So I didn't get to sit with the team, so I'm sitting next to this other adult, and the alliance, and I told him about my sad story, and he told me their sad story. And the alliance selection went, Team 118 picked 1678. And I go, God, this is just like the Sacramento Regional. This is terrible. And then the alliance selection went all the way down, and then the alliance selection, and so then it started going back up, and then 118 and 1678. And I leaned to the guy next to me and I said, well, we're about to find out who the luckiest team is in our entire division. And so they said, Team 118 and Team 1678 would like to invite Team 1671 to join their final. And I went,
what are the chances?
And I jumped up and down, and he looks at me and I said, my team is the luckiest team in the competition. And I went back, and 1678, they were only 2 things down from us in the pits, right? Because our team numbers are so close. Uh-huh. And I went down to our pit, and Steve Harvey, who was the teacher advisor for Team 1678, who I knew really well, he comes running up to me. He gives me a bear hug, and he picks me up off the ground. He goes, we're going to win this thing, Lake. We're going to win, And I said, well, we'll see. So anyway, we get to the in the afternoon, we get to the eliminations, and it was amazing. And let me tell you something. And I know I told you guys I can go on and on and on.
Keep going.
Keep going.
We played 14 straight elimination matches. Our team, for our alliance, we didn't make one mistake. We scored every single point our alliance leader, Team 118, asked us to do. We did everything they told them to do. When you add up all the points that was scored by our alliance, we scored 1/3 of those points.
Wow.
Man.
Now that is for the 3rd alliance partner to carry their weight in point scoring was they'll tell you this. I mean, look, 118 had an amazing robot. 1678 is phenomenal. I mean, those were great teams. Our robot was not as good as their robot by any stretch, but for what they needed, we were the only robot in our division that they could have won with. So if they hadn't picked us, they wouldn't have won. And but we did win. And I just thought, I could coach an FRC team like this for 1,000 years and never win world champs. And that's, but though that is the beauty of FIRST Robotics, is that even those teams that struggle a little bit, but you build a robot that does one thing really well, and you can win world champs with it. I mean, that we did it.
Some people need that one trick pony.
Yeah, and we try not to be. Our attitude is we want to build a robot that can do everything.
We want to be the best at it all.
Yeah, the best. And then what happens is we usually end up paring down what, as the builds. But
we're average for everything rather than really good at one thing or really good at everything.
Right. I mean, and so, but our robots are usually pretty good.
Yeah.
And
they're usually on an alliance.
Yeah, and we're either an alliance leader or we're picked by an alliance. I mean, I don't think we've been in a competition where we weren't picked since 2013, and that was at World Champ, and we had
Give
robot.
ourselves a pat on the back.
Well, I mean, the team is got great kids and great adults supporting them, community support, school support, and all that. We also do have a team philosophy where we want you guys to be the leaders. We want you guys calling the shots. We want the mentors to help. Sometimes we don't do that as well as we should, but there are teams, and I'm not trying to disparage the world-class teams, but they have a little bit more mentor support in terms of design and just major decisions and so on. And
we're almost completely student run. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
other than like there are certain things that the coaches and mentors they have to do, but otherwise they're more there for help, support.
I think we have a really great balance between adult leadership and student leadership, where where we can all feel proud of the product we put on the field when we compete, or we can feel proud of the the chairman's award that we win, or some other special award that we win. We did that together, and really the purpose of First Robotics is to enhance the lives of the students involved and to enhance the lives of others through community service. So, I think that over the years, our team has done a pretty good job, for the most part, of living up to that mission statement, of creating the next, student leaders in science and technology. It was fantastic, though. Let me tell you. One of my favorite memories was I was still up in the stands. We were kind of on our way down, but after we won World Champs, they shoot all that confetti. They have those confetti bombs that go off, and so the ground is just covered with confetti. And there's neighbors on the ground making a snow angel in the confetti. And somewhere, I don't have it here, but
that's a sight.
I scooped up some of the confetti and I put it in my backpack, and I have a little baggie with the confetti from World Champs in it.
That is an awesome souvenir.
Yeah, it was
victory confetti.
It was, and the teams we had to beat. Someday, if you look up there's a documentary that was made about our team and other teams around that World Championship, and it's called Robo League. And if you get on YouTube or whatever, or just Google, do a video search in Google of Robo League First Robotics, you'll find it. And our team is one of the teams featured in that documentary. And actually, in a way, we come across really well, because we're the scrappy little underdog team that
is really what First is all about.
They interviewed us. They interviewed me and neighbors and Shahe and some of the other kids, and they used clips from that in the thing. It's really fun.
That's like a perfect guest to have on there.
It was like a movie. I feel like I'm living in some kind of really bad Hallmark movie, It was, and so it was great for those kids, but actually, in some ways, what we were able to do at the first Monterey Bay Regional, where we were the alliance captain, we won the regional, and we won chairman's. That to me actually is more a greater source of pride in what our team's accomplished than winning World Champs. Because we were, we at World Champs, we did our part. I mean, they could not have won without us. So we are legitimate World Champs.
That's like the best feeling.
but we were drafting off of Team 118 and Team 1670. Team 118 and 1678, they're world-class teams. We're kind of a mid-major team. We're like always trying to get there, trying to compete with 254 and 1678, and sometimes
we're good.
we're really close. But they're
just a little below them.
Those elite teams are truly amazing. I don't know how they do it. We work so hard, and but we have fun. So and that's the most important thing, is we have fun and we learn a lot and make great memories, and that's what our team is all about. Winning awards is great. Winning awards makes it more fun, because you get that success and you want to have more success and all that. But I tell you, the year after we won world champs. It was kind of a hard year because everybody's expectations were so high, and it's like, no, you cannot. There are no guarantees, in life, and what you have to do is you have to be good enough to get lucky, and that's what we were in 2015. We were good enough to get lucky to be on an alliance that could win world champs, and it could happen again. But lightning
Just got to keep working.
Twice. Yeah,
got to put in the effort to get the results.
But you got to make sure the journey is as much fun and as meaningful as your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because you
don't let the victories make
you
or
could
break
go to
you.
You can go to regional and have a weird bunch of judges, and they just don't like what you did, and so you don't win an award, or you don't win chairman's. That could happen, and so you have to say, look, you feel bad. Was it all a waste? Was it all a waste because we didn't win chairman's? If that's your attitude, then I say, maybe we're not doing the right things, because if you're not having enough fun, if you're not getting out of it, not just fun, but satisfaction, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like true satisfaction out of doing what you're doing, then what good is the trophy, for doing it?
Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
why I do robotics.
It's like saying, like, I haven't worked a day in my life, basically, if you're doing what you love.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, sometimes the misery makes the accomplishment sweeter. And that's why I said not fun, but a satisfaction, because, I remember last year, the misery of trying to get that chairman's binder together and all those pages, and and Tyler, your dad was driving people crazy, and
yep.
Right, it was
everyone
hard.
was
Get
crazy.
that thud factor,
but there was satisfaction that came from winning, and so it would have. I'm glad we won, because it did make a lot of that stuff worthwhile. So I'm kind of contradicting myself there, but the fact is we had to go through that agony so that this year, the kids working on chairman's, they know what they're doing, and they know, okay, we got to do this from the beginning. We have to have a process in place. And so, and then guys are doing that. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but it's not going to be as stressful. It's going to be more enjoyable and satisfying. And I hope you guys win chairman's. I hope we win. I don't want to say you guys, because I still feel like I'm part of the team. So I hope we win chairman's. But if we don't, hey, we can say that we produced a great product and did a lot of good with what we could do in this weird COVID year.
Yeah.
And come away with it as better people, and contributing to the community. Better skills and all that. So, and that's what it's all about. So keep that in mind. You guys are making a podcast, and so when you go to college, or when you go to get a job, you know what it takes. It's not just doing problems at the back of a chapter of a book. You know how to work with other people to get things done that are difficult to do.
Like, there are other ways to solutions. Like, a big part of this is you really have to problem solve. Because like, you're trying to get the same results, but you got to use totally different methods depending. Like with COVID and stuff, we can't just be there over each other's shoulders, like correcting each other and being like, hey, get to work.
And, sometimes you find out that, adversity, when you have adversity and you have to do things in a new way, you go, hey, this new way isn't too bad. Like for what we're doing right now, for me, this is better than actually driving all the way out to school and then sitting in a room with you guys and recording. And then I drive all the way home. So now I would have spent, like 30 minutes on the road, and it would have been, but now I'm just sitting in my chair talking to you guys about the history of the team. So maybe next year we can do some things on Zoom, some things together. We have those skills now. We have that experience, and adversity. Well, there was a necessity as the mother of invention, and crazy time though. I do miss being around you guys and being with people. I was so looking forward to retirement, but I was expecting to have the best of both worlds. Like having permanent summer vacation, but also going to school and working with the team, goofing around with the kids, and when I get
now you can say things and not get fired for them. Yeah.
Well, I can still maybe not fired, but I can get removed. But yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, actually, what I want to do is when neighbors and Shahe or Bobby or whatever, when you guys need to be working on, and when the bot or on the chairmans or whatever, you need to be at school really late and they want to go home, I can just show up and do the supervision and because I don't have I don't have to get up in the morning. I can sleep in if I can be there till 2 or 3 in the morning. It won't matter. I can just sleep in the next day and they can, get on with their much busier lives.
Yeah, you don't have to go back to a class full of kids the next day.
Those crazy kids, the teaching would be so much easier without all those pesky students,
Yeah.
And you had to see some of those students over and over again if they TA'd for you.
I always say to them, why do I have to explain? I explained this last year. What's the matter with you people?
I explained this yesterday.
Gosh, I've been doing this for 32 years and I haven't gotten anywhere every year.
The same stuff.
Yeah. Actually, now I'm tutoring online, so it's pretty fun. So
can't get away from it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you guys have any more questions, or shall we wrap this up?
We just have one more. What's your what do you think is the funniest memory you have on the team?
I mean, I'm sure you have tons of funny memories.
Yeah.
But because you've already talked about some of your favorites, and some of them you've talked about some of your funny memories that you've had with the team over the years. But what's one that just always, whenever you think of the team, it always makes you laugh. It always comes to mind, kind of thing.
There's many. One of them, I was in my classroom and over in the workroom. This is in the energy building.
Mm-hmm.
So across the hallway in another classroom, they were working on the robot and stuff like that. And so I'm working in my classroom with some kids on chairman stuff or whatever. And I hear this yelling from the other room. So I come walking in there, and Neighbors has crawled up on the windowsill and wrapped around his leg is Juan. What was Juan's last name? Can't remember Juan. Juan was our CTO, our chief technical officer, and one of our drivers. And he was grabbed around his leg, and it was a very awkward thing to see. And I looked at him, and I just stared at him, and Neighbors looked at me, and he just kind of rolled his eyes. And Juan looks at me and says, "It's okay, Mr. Lake, I'm a chiropractor." I guess you had to be there, but I just about lost. I almost wet my pants. I was laughing so hard.
It's probably the oddest sight to see.
And then
I would have lost it.
Another memory, and this was very early. I'll end where I started with Conrad Miller. It was Conrad's senior year. We were at a Sacramento competition, and we were at the hotel, and it was in the evening, and I had to do room checks, right? So I knock on the door, and Conrad says, "Who is it?" I said, "It's Lake. Open the door. I need to do a head count." "Oh, Mr. Lake, I don't want to open the door."
Wow.
I said, "Conrad,
not suspicious at all.
Quit screwing around. I need to go. Well, Mr. Lake, we're all here. You don't need to worry about it. We're all here." And I said, "Conrad, we've been doing this for 4 years. Just open the door." So he goes, "Okay." You asked for it. He opens the door, and he's just standing there with this big grin on his face, and all he's wearing are these gross whitey tighty underwear. And the guys in the background are just rolling off the beds laughing, and he's just standing there. And I go, "Oh, I said, I closed the door, and I can't get that image out of my brain. It's stuck there.
It's haunting.
I need Elon Musk, like his what's that company where it attaches to the brain? I need him to fix my brain, because it's definitely broken ever since then. But no, awesome. I mean, it's if you sit around and think and tell stories, robotics, for good and bad. One of the cool things about, when you guys graduate from high school and you think about your high school days, you're going to think about all the goofy fun stuff that we did around robotics. That's going to be, that's what makes it great. So I really enjoyed talking to you guys. This was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This was perfect. It was perfect. It was exactly what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't have gone better.
Well, if you have other things, if you let me know, maybe in the future or whatever, if you have like specific things, like we could create a little show on, and maybe get 2 or 3 guests on world champs, or on the Monterey Bay Regional, or on what was it like to win chairman's for the first time? How did that happen, and so on. And there's a lot of history to the team, and and now, and it's good for you to be leaving a record behind, because someday you're going to be 25 years old, and it'll be fun for you to listen to the old, and talk and remember all the good times you had.
You're leaving a bit of a legacy behind.
Yeah, you guys are. That's what you want to do.
In the cheesy first language, we're paving the future. Like,
sort of. Yeah, blazing a trail.
Yep.
Okay, well, I will see you guys next time.
Bye, Mr. Lake.
Goodbye and good luck.
Now, moving on to the next section of our podcast, our sponsors shout out section. And so this week we wanted to give a shout out to West Coast Products. They have been supporting us for 5+ years. What they do, West Coast Products, they aim to provide first teams and hobbyists and educators top-notch quality products and designs for their projects. They support us in multiple ways. They have given us store credit to purchase things. They support us by giving us store credit to purchase things like gearboxes, Limelight vision systems, motors, wheels, bearings, and so much more. So thank you, West Coast Products, for supporting us. And if you are a sponsor or know someone who would like to sponsor us, please contact us at contact@team1671.com. And we appreciate everyone's support. So thank you.
All right, now we're moving on to our Nest News section. And so Daphne is still selling masks for $5 each. You can contact her through Slack.
IR and ST, they're pretty much doing what they've been doing. IR is just working on finishing chairman's, working on doing they're finishing up the business plan. They should, by the time this podcast gets out, they'll probably be done with the business plan. Yeah, and then ST is just continue like last week. They're still getting used to just being back in person for their small little groups of pods that get to meet, and just working on finishing out the season, getting things done.
And just quick thank you to everyone who picked up their Valentines or wrote Valentines for other people. Yeah, that was just nice that you could, we're just trying to do something for all the members, and thank you.
Show support for each other, even though we can't really be with each other much right now. Thank you for that. And if you didn't get to pick them up, I know that they're figuring out a way or a time when they can do another pickup or somehow get them to you. They might have figured out a way by the time this podcast is released. If they have not announced a way yet, then stay tuned and we will probably mention it next week.
And that's all we have for you this week. So
yeah, it was a long episode, so I don't know how many of you guys stayed the whole time, but for those of you who did, you guys are champions and we appreciate it.
All right, well, I guess that's Skyler and Tyler signing off.